Welcome to the TheFallenState. I am Jesse Lee Peterson. Thank you all so much for being with me. You can support the TheFallenState by becoming a member and support it there on the YouTube channel or locals.com/Jesse Lee Peterson. I have with me very, very interesting lady, Kim Heller. She is a South African writer, political strategist, and social justice advocate, and an author. Kim, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate the invitation.
All the way from South Africa. What is a social justice advocate? What do you do exactly?
Well, I think I'm a social justice advocate in I think what I do, even in my writings. And as you know, South Africa has been a world of injustice,
Yeah.
both under apartheid and still under democracy. The miracle nation of South Africa became the most unequal country in the world. So there's a lot of injustice to fight here and across the globe. So my writings, my interviews, and my work filters right into that.
And what are you advocating for? What do you want to see happen?
I want a society and a world that is completely different to what is happening at the moment. And we have, for instance, in South Africa and on the continent, it's been a continent of extraction and a continent where Western countries, including the United States, has caused quite, in my view, immeasurable damage by treating the continent as a place of self-enrichment. And the continent is in quite a bad state at the moment. And the history lies heavily on the present day. So my wish would be that we would see proper economic justice and liberation, not only in South Africa, but across the continent. And actually today I'm busy writing on the second African climate summit that's taking place in Ethiopia as we speak. And it's very interesting because in terms of climate, South Africa actually contributes just 1% to the global emissions, but suffers the main consequences of climate change. And we have great famine brought about by this in many of the African states. And I'm hoping they resolve tomorrow when the conference ends to develop African solutions rather than being reliant on aid, which has proved to be very unreliable.
Yeah. Things are really bad there too, and hopefully something will be done because it's pretty bad. Let me ask, I don't know a lot about you personally. Are you a Christian?
A Christian? No, no, no. Actually, my life story is that I was born into a very religious Orthodox Jewish family and have always found that that religion is very problematic, especially at the moment. And I'm very involved in the pro-Palestinian cause. So I grew up, with a Jewish ideology that teaches us that the Jews are the chosen people. So I was a rebel, I think, to quote Nina Simone, a rebel with a cause from a very early age, where I not only confronted religious alienation, but was brought up in an apartheid society, which, as you know, was a very evil system of racial oppression. But I'm not a Christian. I believe that. I'm not an advocate of institutionalized religion.
Oh, okay.
I do believe in spirituality, and I found more godly things in acts rather than in ceremonies. So that's my perhaps unpopular opinion on religion.
And so if I'm hearing you correctly, you are Jewish, but you don't really participate in the Jew thing either.
Not at all. I think I'm quite well known as a black sheep in the community. Actually,
Oh, yeah.
I've never found. I'm extremely anti-Zionist, and what's going on now is shocking. And I've actually participated in an organization called the South African Jews for a Free Palestine, which is a very strong anti-Zionist movement. And in fact, some of our members are aboard the flotilla now,
Mm.
moving towards Gaza and hopefully will unlock the humanitarian corridors. So I don't subscribe at all to that. I think it's shameful what's happening now in the name of religion. I stand completely against that, and I wish that there were more Jewish people who would stand against the great inhumanity that we're seeing being done by the Israeli regime,
And
which I don't
so
recognize, by the way. I think it's an illegitimate state.
you think Israel is an illegitimate state?
I do.
Amazing. So how do your parents deal with the fact that you have rejected your own identity and taken on a false identity?
A false identity.
Yeah.
No, well, I
How do your
think,
parents react to that? Your family?
well, my family, both living and passed away, have been very against my views. But I think when you're born with a purpose that goes beyond religious and racial divides, you have to follow that. So my path has been very lonely, perhaps, but in my heart, I know what is correct, and I know what's happening in the name of Judaism now is wrong. I knew that growing up as a young child, that I was not better than other people. I mean, I was taught even in my upbringing that Christians were second-rate citizens. I was also taught that Black people were less than human. So I have alienated my family. That's a cost I have incurred, but it's been done in the name of my own principles, which are stronger than anything.
And who taught you those things?
I don't think that I was taught those things. I was taught I was taught that I was superior. I mean, I'm writing my second book on white supremacy, which is will be published later this year. It's with the publisher now. And I refer to instances in my childhood which made me feel that what was being done under apartheid in particular was extremely evil. And we were taught when I was about 11 or 12, it was compulsory for white children who were kept quite separate to the Black population, indigenous people. We were sent on camps and we were taught to hunt the ANC terrorists and shoot at these terrible people. And when I went on one of those camps, and I describe this in my book, I refused to do that. And then I was punished. There were only two of us, of about 50 white children, who refused to do that. I was also 10 or 11 when the Soweto uprisings occurred in 1976, where white apartheid policemen shot and killed young Black children who were protesting in the streets. Now, in that instance, a family friend, a white man, was killed in the crossfires. He was an activist, but he was killed in the fury of that day. So, as a young child, that kind of thing impacted on me. And I thought this is not how society should be.
So you were born and raised in Africa, South Africa?
Sorry, just repeat that.
You were born and raised in South Africa?
I was born and raised in South Africa, but like every white person, I'm not an indigenous South African. My forefathers came from Europe, as did the Afrikaners that now have sought refuge in America. They are not indigenous to South Africa or the continent.
But
They
the
came
white people
from,
were there before the Black people went there. They went and they established South Africa, and then the Black people came along. Why do you say that about the whites?
no, that's that's not a true version of history, and that's absolutely not true.
How do you know it's
And
not true?
no, that's not true. I
How do
mean,
you know it's not true?
because I'm a history student and I've written extensively about this and studied. But if you accept the white man's view of history, yes, you will believe that. That is
Amazing.
absolutely inaccurate.
So
That's actually inaccurate.
no one taught you to see black people in that way, but when you were growing up, because of the separation of the blacks and the whites, you saw that and believed that that was going on for yourself.
Yes, I did, but as I said, I was the black sheep of the family. I was like some people in the white community have called me a factory fault, as if something in my mind went wrong. Because unfortunately, there are very few white people who have stood on the side, although there have been, who've stood on the side of the oppressed African people. What we've done is we've allowed our forefathers to get away with their sins, which was stealing land, killing people, ruining their opportunities, their lives, damaging their culture, destroying their knowledge and thought systems. So I'm unapologetically on that side of history, and
Do,
happily so. As I said, if I walk that path alone, I'm extremely comfortable.
do
So
you
I
have
don't
your
see it
own
as a
family?
force.
You have your like a
Sorry.
husband and children?
I'm not, I don't want to discuss my personal
Oh, okay. Okay.
circumstances beyond
I understand.
what I've said.
I totally understand. You so do you love the Jews?
And I don't understand that question. Do I love the Jews?
Yeah,
I've said to you,
do you love the Jews?
I think that the Jewish population, those that are Zionists, are a symbol of inhumanity at the moment. And I absolutely deplore what they're doing. I'm not a new convert to being an anti-Zionist and a pro-Palestinian activist. Since my university days, I've been very active in that, and I find what the Jewish people are doing is deplorable. I don't believe there should be a state. I think in the same way that South Africa and Africa was colonized, Palestine was colonized,
But South
and
Africa wasn't colonized. South Africa
sorry,
was not colonized. But I want to know, do you love the Jews?
I don't love Jews who are subscribing to Zionism and to killing innocent Palestinian children.
You say you
That
do,
would be my answer.
so you don't love the Jews?
I have no affiliation to the Jews. In fact, in my life, I never felt comfortable in that religion. I
Amazing.
haven't I haven't practiced it, and but I have seen Jewish people who've stood very firmly on the anti-apartheid struggle and on the anti-Zionist struggle, and I applaud them because sometimes to stand against our community is very costly and very uncomfortable.
And do you love white people?
I I love white people who are committed to justice and who are not practicing white supremacy. So yes, I would qualify that, and I would feel the same for any group. I stand for humanity, and I support people who do the same.
The um the Jews have given up a lot of land over in Israel to the Palestinians, Palestine, and they still want more. They're never satisfied. They want to push the Jews into the sea. Do you agree with them pushing the Jews into the sea, from the land to the sea? Do you agree that that should happen?
I think that is just part of the propaganda that
No, I've seen that myself. I've been there and I've seen that. Are you for the
you've seen.
Palestinian pushing the Jews into the sea?
You've seen Palestinians pushing Jews into the sea.
No, I've heard them say that and they shout that and sing that. Are you for them pushing the Jews into the sea?
I think that is that is a slogan of freedom. It's not. I don't think that any Jews have been pushed into the sea.
But that's what they
But there's also
want.
a
No, they
difference.
haven't done it yet, but they want that. Are you for
No,
that?
it's the same. It's the same ideology and mischief making that we have in South Africa, where we say black people want to push white people into the sea, and it hasn't happened. It's like this
I
false
know it
dogma.
hasn't happened, but they chant all the time
Mhm.
from the land to the sea.
So,
They wish to push the Jews into the sea. Do you agree with that?
so there has been no Israeli Jew that has been pushed
I
into the
know
sea.
that. I know that hasn't happened, but they want to. Do you
No,
support
no, they
that
don't.
idea?
I think you don't understand the systemic issues. So perhaps you can give me an opportunity to respond. There's been no Jew
I'm
who's been
aware of
pushed
that,
into the sea.
but they
Now,
want
I
it.
want to compare it. I want to compare it to South Africa, where there's been your your president was very excited to show videos of Julius Malema of the EFF saying, "Kill the Boer."
Yeah, I was going to
I'm
ask
sure
you
you're
about
aware.
that, but so hold that thought. I want to come to that.
But
I saw that as
why?
well, but
Why?
I just need a yes or no. Are you for the Palestinians pushing the Jews into the sea?
That question is so loaded, and I will refuse to answer that. I'm answering it in my own way.
How's it
So if
loaded?
you could,
What do you mean loaded?
it's
It's
because
either
you don't
yes or no.
understand. I'm not going to answer that. I'm not an American bimbo. I'm an intelligent woman who is studied in politics. And if you want to hear my answer, I can do it. I'm not going to go into a simplistic view. So I can say quite categorically that that is the from a river to the sea is a slogan against imperialism, colonialism, and Zionism in the very same way that kill the Boer is a systemic call
Well, let
of
me ask you
freedom
about that.
against the system.
I played a soundbite where the black, I guess, members of the government there and others were chanting "Kill the Boer, kill white people" in South Africa. Are you
It
for? Do
doesn't actually
you
mean
agree
that.
with killing white people in South Africa? Are you for that?
I understand the slogan, and if you had read my writings and also understood the court declarations and decisions of the highest court of South Africa, that was not deemed as hate speech because
And
South
what?
Africa, if you know anything about the struggle, you will know that that is a song sung by esteemed leaders, I think, including Nelson Mandela, against the system of white oppression. And do I support that? Do I support the end of white suppression and white supremacy? Absolutely. You can crucify me for that. I will stand with that to my dying day.
Amazing. So when they were chanting "Kill the white people," the Boer, you thought that was a song of love?
That's a song. It's a legitimate freedom song against a system of white oppression.
So if
That
white South Africans were shouting or singing "Kill the blacks" in South Africa, would you be for that? Would you call that a love song?
I would call that completely differently because
Well,
white people
why?
have never been because white people are the oppressors and they still remain privileged and they still exercise undue influence over the economy and land. They haven't confessed to the sins of apartheid and colonialism, which was declared acts of inhumanity by the United Nations. So it can't be compared. Now, what you probably don't know was that I was a member right at the beginning of the economic freedom fighters under Julius Malema as a white person. I think I was the first white person to join that political party. And I have gone to endless rallies with hundreds of thousands of people, and I have never been threatened or attacked. There are white members of the EFF under Julius Malema's leadership now. I'm not involved with that, but there are people that are part of that movement. Now, why would they be a part of that movement if it was against white people?
Well,
They
there are.
understand.
There's a genocide happening to white people in South Africa right now. So
No, there's not.
do you support the genocide on white people right now? Do you support that? The blacks
You know,
are
there's
going
really
out there.
there's very,
They're going out to the farmlands, and they are raping and robbing and killing and breaking into these people's homes, raping their women, robbing them along the road. Are you okay with the blacks doing that to the whites in South Africa? Are you support that?
but that your information is very misleading. I thought
Do
you would have
you
learned from your
support that?
president,
That
Donald
is
Trump,
happening.
that you mustn't.
The president even brought some of them here because of the genocide, some of the whites. Do you support the attack upon the whites in Africa that is coming from the blacks to whites? Do you support the blacks attacking the whites?
You know, there's no genocide of white people in South Africa, and that's very degrading of what's happening in places like Sudan at the moment and Palestine. There's no genocide of white people, and
There
if
is
you
a
inspected,
genocide.
there's absolutely no genocide,
No,
and
there
it's
is a
unfortunate.
genocide.
No,
That's not
it's
true.
not.
You're not being
Actually,
honest. Why
no,
are you
there's no
not being
genocide.
honest about what's happening to the whites?
Look, I don't even know if this interview is worth concluding because your facts are incorrect, and I'm not an impolite person. But if you had read articles, including mine, of the 6,800 deaths, that murders that took place, I think about 14 of those were of white farmers. Now, just last week, we had a white farmer killing a black person and putting him in a shallow grave without reporting it to the police. So the attacks on black people are far more prevalent. There's absolutely no genocide.
There
I
is
can
a
say that
genocide.
categorically.
No, there is a
There is.
genocide. I know that for sure. I know that for a fact.
Mhm.
But which one hurt you the most? When a white person kill a black person in South Africa or blacks kill whites? Which are you most affected by?
I'm not. That's just an irrelevant question.
Why?
You're trying to bait me into a particular direction. Death is. I do not support the death of one person, but I do not support the injustices that occur against black people every day in South Africa.
You do you love the blacks in South Africa? You love the blacks?
I think the simplistic vision of that is problematic, actually.
But
And I've said to you, I love people that support humanitarian causes and stand for equality
how about
and
the blacks? Do you
historical
love the
justice.
blacks?
Well, what I do find problematic is black people and African people who have sided with white supremacy and uphold that system. So no, I don't love those black people.
So if you don't love all people, you love none. How is it that you can love some and not all? That's not possible. If you don't love all, you love no one.
Well, perhaps I don't have a religious attachment that you aspire to. I've clearly stated that
Okay.
I support humanity. So the person who shoots a black man and buries him in a grave, or the two white farmers who shot two black women, mothers, and fed them to the pigs in South Africa. I don't feel love for those people.
Do you
You
feel
can feel
love
love
for
for
the
them. I don't.
Do you feel love for the blacks who have gone out to the farmlands and robbed white women and broken into their homes and robbed the women and raped the women in front of their husbands and children? Do you feel bad for those white people or the black people that did that? Which hurt you the most?
I think all death is sad, and any violence is to be condemned. But the instances of murder are against black people in this country. I think the same trend is in the United States, if I'm correct.
No, you're right. It is. The blacks are now put a genocide upon white people in America. Yeah, you're right about that. Should America allow the blacks to commit genocide on them in this country? What should we do about that?
There's no genocide in America. I mean,
No,
although
white
when we
women are
look,
being robbed and killed all the time, knocked out and everything.
perhaps you need to look at what constitutes genocide. And there might have been a few attacks. But, I recently was writing an article about commemoration of George Floyd's murder by police officers. And the statistics of police murders of African Americans is very much higher than that of white people. So I tend to go by statistics.
But those
Um,
statistics are wrong. They're made up by uh, uh, hating liberals, liberals who hate Christians and they hate what's right. They make up false statistics. Those things are not true. So don't believe that, all right? It's not true. They're made up by haters who want to control the blacks. Let me ask, did you support Nelson Mandela?
I supported Nelson Mandela. Actually, I came from a very conservative family who was very against my support of the ANC and Nelson Mandela. And in my upcoming book, I actually speak about how I had the great pleasure to work with him in 1994 in crafting the ANC election strategy. And he was certainly a humanitarian who I respect. A lot of people try and paint him poorly. I think he tried to do the right thing, although I think both him and the ANC gave in far too much to white interests. And I hold that view today.
But Nelson Mandela was a communist, a socialist, and the blacks who did not agree with him, he would take them and take a rubber tire, put it around their necks, and set it afire to the blacks. Were you in support of that?
That is actually incorrect, and I'm not even going to respond to that. That
Why
is absolutely
not?
incorrect.
Because that
Actually,
did happen.
if this program is ever flighted in South Africa, I think there's going to be an outcry about what you've just said, and I find that very hurtful that you would debase a man who was in prison for 27 years and was extremely kind to everybody.
But
That
he
you
was a
would
socialist. He was a communist. He wasn't kind. He was an evil man.
he was an evil man.
Yes. Why
Oh,
would you
okay.
support an evil communist?
Look, I think you're probably trying to get a provocative program, and
No, I'm not. I'm
you know,
just asking questions. You said you.
I can't believe that as a religious person that you claim to be, that you would hold that belief. And Nelson Mandela wasn't a communist, actually. He was quite a liberal person, but there were certainly people within the ANC that were communists. And in fact, my personal favorite was Chris Hani, who was assassinated by a white foreigner in his driveway. And he should have been, I believe, he would have made a better president of South Africa. We are not scared of communism in South
So
Africa.
are you a communist?
We are not scared of. I would describe myself as a. Actually, I have a friend proudly in the British Communist Party. He's actually a Nigerian person living in Britain. And we were discussing the differences of communism, socialism, and he gave me a very nice term that I'm proudly would associate with, which is I'm a revolutionary socialist, because I've seen that capitalism has not served Africa well. And if you had been to Africa, which I'm not sure you have been, you would see that capitalism has kept people in chains long after independence.
And so you would
So
call yourself a socialist, not a communist, but you're a
I'm
socialist.
extremely, yes, I believe in, if I had to say where I am on the political spectrum, I would say I'm a Pan-Africanist socialist.
That's
And I
amazing.
believe that's, and I believe that South Africa and Africa need that orientation.
So is
And
communism good or evil?
I think that the system of communism and socialism is far more human than that of capitalism, which is based on profits, not people.
It was supposed to be that way. Let me ask, do you have white privilege?
Absolutely. I have
And
white privilege.
what's your white
Like
privilege?
Like let me quote from myself, like every person, past, future, and present, I am a child of privilege. Even if I don't, even if I lived in the most terrible of circumstances, my white skin still allows me privileges in South Africa
Really?
that African people aren't afforded. So, of course,
What's
every white
wrong
person
with
is privileged.
what's wrong with the blacks that they need white women and white people or to feel sorry for them and help them get along and feel bad for them? What's wrong with the blacks that around the world they're not able to do for themselves? The men are weak, the women are whining, the children are out of control, and the white people feel so sorry for the blacks. What's wrong with the blacks that they can't get up and do for themselves?
Well, I don't. My revolutionary politics is not born out of pity or feeling sorry. I also believe that white allies are extremely unreliable. I subscribe to the view of Malcolm X, where he says, you need to be careful to trust white people in the revolution. They're certainly the
But the
most
blacks turned
brilliant.
on Malcolm X when he realized he had been lied to about the white people. They turned on him. And some people saying, I don't know, I don't have proof of this, but he was taken out by the blacks when he realized that he had been lied to, that it was not the white man that was holding them down, it's the black people that holding them others black down. But what's wrong with the blacks that they need somebody to feel sorry for them and to help the poor blacks? And why can't they move away and do for themselves? What's wrong with them that you and other whites feel so bad for them? What's wrong with them? Why can't they make it?
My activism, as I said, is not born out of pity. It's
No,
born
I'm
out of a
asking you
sense of
why. I'm
justice.
asking you why are they so pitiful? Why are the blacks
No,
so
I don't.
pitiful?
Well, I don't know who you socialize with, but I do not see black people as pitiful.
You
I
are. They
see that
complain about the police. They complain that they can't make it. Somebody else holding them down. They complain about everything. And they need some white woman or some white man or somebody white to come in and save them. What's wrong with them that they need that from white people or anyone? Why can't they just get up and do for themselves? What's wrong with the blacks?
I mean, you know the answer to that if you were being perfectly
What's the
honest, and
answer to
that is
that?
that
What's
the whole system is against black people. I mean, I even see that the whole and so they don't need white people. They just need for the system to be dismantled, and that's what
Why?
I
They
try
just
to
need
do.
to get up and do. Why they need a system to be dismantled for them to get up and do for themselves? That doesn't make sense. Why do you feel sorry for the blacks?
I don't. I've just said to you 100 times, I don't do that. It's a
So
systemic
why are you being such a
exclusion.
mama to them? Why don't you tell them get up off their butts, stop
Oh my God.
complaining, and stop thinking that white people are superior to them and do for themselves? Why don't you tell them that rather than momming them? Oh, there, baby. I know you can't make it. This system is against you. Why do you mama the blacks instead of showing them real love?
What would real love be to you? Perhaps I should turn the tables because
For them to get
your
up and do
propaganda
for
is just
themselves and stop complaining.
there's a systemic problem. Actually, I mean, actually, the interesting thing is that the Trump government, which obviously you kneel down to and support, is very interesting in how he's navigating the politics of race in America, because he's removing the great works of scholars like James Baldwin from school libraries and in certain states. That's telling you that the system is against people, that they can't even read the work of African Americans.
But that's not true what you said about the great white hope, Donald Trump. They call Donald Trump king. Did you know that?
No, I
Yeah, they
don't
call him
really.
king. In the United States, they have rallies around the country calling Donald Trump king. They call him daddy. I call him the Great White Hope, but he's trying to make America great again and not so divided with all the lies about slavery and the white man holding the black man down. He's making it great again, and I'm
No, what
really
he,
happy to do it. But you didn't tell me what's wrong with the blacks, that they need to be saved by white women and liberal white men. What's wrong with the blacks? Tell me that.
well, I reject your entire framing of that, and there's nothing wrong with black people.
Then why do
What's
they
wrong is
need people like you to come and just feel so bad for them? So this until you identify your you disassociate with your whole culture and you taking on the black way. You know that's bad. What's wrong with the blacks?
there's absolutely nothing wrong
Well, why do
with
they need
black
why
people.
do they need you and other white people to save them?
They definitely don't. Actually, the concept of a white savior is atrocious and something I don't subscribe to. I'm not sure what political literature you've read or political um, information you have, but I think we're very much on different sides. And when Donald Trump speaks about making America great, he just wants to make America white again. You
No.
know that.
I wish that were
That's,
true because we need white people to stand up and wake up because if the white people continue to let the blacks intimidate them and destroy everything, a whole America is going to become a ghetto. I remember when Barack Obama ran for president. You know Barack Obama? You know who that is?
I think I might have vaguely heard about him.
Yeah.
Thank you.
When he became
Hmm.
president, I told the blacks, don't vote for Barack Obama because he will turn America into a ghetto. Lo and behold, they voted for him, and Barack turned America into a ghetto, and it's only gotten worse. So we need white people to keep things going because the blacks don't know how to do it. Do you agree with that?
Look, I'm really enjoying this because I didn't know it was a comedy show. I've never really been interviewed on such a format. No, completely. Um,
What do you mean
well,
about
I think you should be. I think you'd enjoy the Afrikaners that came to America, and I hope you interact with them. Perhaps you should interview one of them, and then you can just see what value white people would add to America. Because we're very grateful that we've got rid of some racist Americans who are now enjoying America. May you enjoy them too, because you'll see the caliber of people and the hatred they have for black people.
why is it now that apartheid has ended? Was it a mistake to end apartheid in South Africa? Because I've noticed that ever since then, black people have not been able to, and the white people gave up all the nice things in the cities to the white to the blacks, and they moved to the farmland. And I noticed, and I've heard other black South Africans say this, that the only thing that black people have done is to make it worse. They've stolen everything. They've turned everything into a ghetto. And there are even black South Africans wanting the white man to come back because the blacks can't make it on their own. Why can't they take something that was already good and keep it going or make it better in South Africa? Why can't the black, what's wrong with them? They can't do that.
Well, I'm not sure what South Africa you're speaking
The
of,
one you
that
live
any black
in,
person, sorry,
the one that you live in.
I think clearly not, because any black South African that would speak about apartheid days being better, that's very problematic.
No, I asked you, was
Because,
it a mistake to end it because the blacks have been suffering horribly since the white people left? Was it a mistake to end apartheid?
it was a mistake to give white people so much say in a new government. Nelson Mandela was too much of a good person that he forgave white people, and we have been ungrateful, and we've continued to exercise our privilege and power. That's what I would say to your question.
South Africa is a Christian country, nation, right? A Christian country, right?
You could categorize it like that. It's quite a diverse country.
Um, is it quite a what?
It's quite a diverse country
Oh, okay.
religiously, but it's probably dominated by Christian ideology.
I get the impression that you don't seem to be bothered by the blacks going out into the white farmland and raping and killing them, breaking into their home. They had to put up electric fences around their home. They have bodyguards. They have a alarm system. They live like in prison. You don't seem to be bothered by what they're doing to the whites. Why not?
I've already answered that question, but perhaps you should get verifiable information. And I welcome you to South Africa. Perhaps you could stay with a nice white family, but we could take you as honest people from some of the more progressive organizations to see some of the truths that happen in this country, because clearly your information is highly inaccurate. And it's very problematic that I thought that once Donald Trump was so embarrassed by showing images of, I think it was Congo rather than South Africa, that Americans would stop this propaganda. But clearly it continues. I mean, it's absolutely, it's absolutely absurd, actually, what you're saying, because it bears no resemblance to what's going on in South Africa. I think what I'm going to do, there's actually a white supremacist that I often deal with on X, and I've said to him, I'm going to send him an autographed book of my autographed book on my book on white supremacy. I think I'm going to do the same, just as because clearly, and in that book, there are young black activists, ordinary South Africans, speaking about the horrors of racial oppression, and those are factual accounts. So perhaps that would be useful for you and your team to study.
What do you think about those blacks who live in South Africa who are suffering because of other blacks turning things into a ghetto and stealing and breaking into stores and homes? And they're saying to the white man, y'all need to come back. If white people was here in charge, we wouldn't have this in South Africa. What do you say to those blacks who live there and they see what the blacks are doing to destroy themselves and others? What would you say to those blacks?
Black people are not, there's instances of crime and murder and decay anywhere in the world, but the state of a black person in South Africa, in democratic South Africa, cannot compare to the horror of apartheid, the absolute horror. Their mothers, black mothers, who still don't know where their children were buried or whether they survived because they had to flee their homes in terror from the apartheid regime. There's no comparison.
So I ask you, what will you say to those blacks who live in South Africa? They know about apartheid and everything, and now that the white man have given up everything to the blacks, the situation has only gotten worse from the blacks. What do you say to those blacks who live in South Africa and they are living in those areas, in the surrounding areas, and they know how awful the blacks are, how violent they are? What do you say to those blacks?
I mean, you're speaking as if this is a fiction movie, or this is not correct what you're saying. White people have given up nothing.
You're not answering my question. I asked, what do you
No,
say to those blacks? I have evidence
because
of black people complaining and they want the white man to come back. They were saying, if white people were here, we wouldn't be having these problems. Look at the blacks. What do you say to those blacks that live there? What would you say to them?
I would say that you are indoctrinated by white supremacy and you want to be at the master's feet. And that is shocking
Yeah.
because your liberation is only possible when there's economic liberation for Black South Africans. White people occupy 70% of the land and the lion's share of the economy and control language and culture. So white people have given up nothing. That's the problem.
And so
So
those
the people
blacks
that
who
you're
are living
speaking,
there, they don't know, they don't see what they see.
well, I think perhaps it would be useful for you to bring on one of those people to the conversation. I wouldn't want to know what political party they belong to, but the majority of Black South Africans certainly do not feel that way. Absolutely not.
And so are you, so you, So they know what they see happening and they call it for the white people to come back and help. You're saying that those people are delusional?
I'm saying that your information is unfortunately very incorrect. I
So
don't know any black people who would think that. And the white people haven't gone anywhere. White people like myself, who don't even belong on this continent, are still here
so then why don't you
enjoying
leave?
the.
If you don't belong on the continent, why don't you move away? Why do you stay?
Yes, it's a thought because I'm going to try and play a constructive role in changing the social and economic conditions for the better.
But you
And
can't do that.
sorry.
You can't change that.
No, I can change that by appealing politically to the government and to the consciousness of white people to actually give up their unearned privilege.
That's amazing. There is a all white town that's being built there in South Africa. You know about that? All white,
Yes,
for whites only. Are you?
yes, that does exist. You've stumbled across factual information at last.
I interviewed one of the founders of that area. I forgot what it's called. And
Orania.
I think that the whites in America need to do that too. They need to build areas where blacks are not allowed. They need to have their own government, their own police department, because the whites are under attack in the same way that the whites are in South Africa. Do you agree with me that the whites need to build a separate area from the blacks in America?
Well, no, I look at that. Maybe that's a good idea to have white people who are privileged, both in South Africa and America, living in an exclusive place so that the rest of society can be protected from the racism and white supremacy. In fact, on a South African, our national broadcaster, I was speaking out against Zionism, and I said that actually it was when these white Afrikaners went to America. I said what would be good is that the Zionists and the white supremacists should all form a little enclave and live together because perhaps the world would be a much better place.
But how would the blacks take care of themselves if the white people move away? The blacks don't know they only know how to build ghettos. They only know how to destroy. So if you agree that the whites need to go and do their own thing, how would the blacks survive? They don't know how to survive.
Do you really believe that?
Yes, I know that.
Okay, okay.
How would the blacks survive if the whites are not there to take care of them?
Well, black South Africans, if we had to look at history before colonialism, we would see they did very well without the white man. So I think that would be a wonderful solution. Perhaps we should, you know, do the Zionist, racist, white supremacist country. And as I said, the rest of us could live peacefully and black culture and economy would flourish as it did in pre-colonial days.
You said that you are spiritual, right?
Yes, I am.
And what does it mean to be spiritual?
To be spiritual is to not be judgmental and to accept everyone as equal. And that is what I try and do. It's to be godly in behavior.
But you don't
And
seem to
in
be that way
spirit.
about white people. You're very judgmental of white people and of the Jews. Why are you loving the Jews and you're very judgmental of the Jews and the whites? Why is that?
It's because yes, perhaps my spirituality is geared towards humanity
No,
and
it gears
humanitarian.
toward the blacks only.
Well, if we have to look at history, who's been treated badly, I believe that the curse is that of white supremacy, which has destroyed black culture, black lives, black wealth, black knowledge. So yes, I will take the side of the underdog until we see justice.
And so you agree with a communist socialist pig like Nelson Mandela. You agree with the kill the Boer in South Africa. You agree with everything that seems to be wrong. You've been traumatized as a little kid, you were traumatized by all that stuff you saw growing up. Do you realize you've been brainwashed?
Actually, I think I was very traumatized.
Right. So now you love your
No, I
enemy.
was traumatized that my own people, being Jewish and being white, could do such dreadful things to other human beings. I was traumatized. But
So
in
now
fact,
you
where
have
you
identified with the enemies because you hated what your family and other people were doing. You know how you have that syndrome thing.
actually quite
What
differently,
they call
I
you
went
have the
against the
Stockholm
propaganda.
you have the Stockholm syndrome.
Okay. Look, I think that
Have you noticed that
yeah,
about yourself? You have the Stockholm syndrome.
no, no, not at all. Not at all. Actually, I would worry in terms of your positionality because you seem to want to please the white man all the time. So I'm
It's
an
funny. You
honest
seem to want to please the black man, and you say I seem to want to be
no,
the white man.
no, I
What
don't.
happened
I
here?
stand I stand for justice. I actually, what I've done is I've resisted the dogma of the mainstream master narrative. And I'm proud that I've actually stood against that. It's a hard path to choose. It's based on principles and justice.
Well,
And
you
I would love it. I would love that it would connect with some kind of faith like Christianity. It hasn't for me. Perhaps in my older age, that will still happen. But I'm resolute on the course that what I stand for is humanity, whether it's in Palestine or in the Congo or in Sudan or in America.
you're
But I mean,
brainwashed.
America's based on genocide. I mean, it was based on slavery,
And you're right.
and
They are committed genocide on the whites in America. I agree with you on that. The blacks are committing genocide on the whites. Did you know that the civil rights movement in America, right? It was the worst thing that ever happened to the blacks other than abortion. Did you know the civil rights movement was the worst thing that ever happened to the blacks? They have not recovered. Are you aware of that?
there's a program that you have that you're being set up in a camera for something, and then they say at the end, this was all a mistake, and we just were trying to, I don't know what the American version is, scam you, whatever. That's what I feel because it feels like we're on completely different universes, and perhaps I'm grateful that we are on
No, but
different
I asked you,
universes.
did you know that the civil rights movement, other than abortion, was the worst thing that ever happened to the blacks in America? Did you know that?
Well, perhaps that should be in the White Bible and for your disciples. But yeah, there's I'm not going to be drawn into that statement. That's absolutely foolish and incorrect.
But ever since then, the black families broke up. They have those black so-called leaders. They don't think for themselves anymore. They're very violent and angry. And they were not like that prior to the civil rights movement. And they rely on the government. They believe in affirmative action and reparations and DEI, and they just lost their way. How can that be good for the black?
I think that for a Black person in America or in South Africa or in many places, to not be in a stage of rage at the injustice that's been meted out to them is insanity. There should be rage. There should be outrage against the atrocities done by white people for centuries. I mean, you may perhaps not know this, but when slavery ended in the Commonwealth, do you know it was the white slave masters that were compensated, not slaves? That just shows the state of disrespect for Black people and Black bodies, as if they're commodities to be traded by white people.
But
Those
they,
are the
but
conversations
over
we should
here
be
they had
having.
a bunch of black slave owners as well. A whole lot of them owned slaves. Were they compensated too?
I'm talking about the Commonwealth countries, but that what you speak about is very minuscule. And
No, it was major.
I'm not sure why you want to erase the history so much. But
Because I
look, it's your
want blacks
program.
to know the truth so that they can be made free. And right now they only know the lie and they're very angry, and they only know the lie. They don't know the truth. And if they should hear the truth, some of them will wake up and take back their lives and take control and stop being victims and blaming everybody else and thinking that the white man is superior to them. So I want them to know the truth instead of the lie. That makes sense?
So do you believe that,
Does that
like
make
otherwise?
sense?
No, no, nothing, not much that you've said has made sense. So perhaps nothing that I say makes sense. But I was debating with a white supremacist, and they don't like to listen much. But this particular individual based in America was saying that, the white man is more educated than the black man. So perhaps I can ask for your opinion on that. Do you subscribe to that ridiculous nonsense?
That the white man is more educated than the black man?
No, the IQ is naturally higher.
Oh, I've heard that. That the white man IQ is naturally higher than the black man?
So let me ask you, turn the tables and ask you what you think of that,
I
because you
think,
seem to subscribe
well, I
to
think
the.
so because if black people were smart and they had high IQ, they would be doing for themselves and not blaming others. They would be building and not destroying. They would not think that anyone was superior to them if they had a high IQ. So that's a good point. I'm glad you made that point. You're right. White people IQ are higher than the blacks.
I'm not saying that. I'm speaking about the false dogma of that, and I'm just
But
wondering
if
if
they
you would
had
agree.
high IQ, why don't we see them doing something right, doing the right thing?
That's like saying to the people of Gaza, you deserve to be caught in this terrible horror because and they can't escape anyway. It's the same thing as black people trapped in a system of white supremacy.
That's
It's as simple
amazing.
as that.
Let me ask, do you believe that women were created to be leaders or to follow?
You really want me to answer that question?
Yes, were women created to follow or to lead?
Well, it depends. I think women can be leaders and followers,
No, actually,
whatever their
were they
choice is.
created to be followers or leaders?
I don't know that they were created for either. They
Y-
were created for both.
No, they were not created to lead. They were created to follow.
But then why did you ask me the question if you have the answer already?
Well, I wanted to see what you thought about it. Say you're the educated one. Do should a man should a man ever listen to a woman?
Of course. If there's, I believe in equal partnership, but clearly you don't. So actually, we're perfectly incompatible on every aspect, and there's something to be said about that.
Let me ask this: did God create God? Is there a spiritual order to life? God and Christ, Christ over man, man over woman, women over children. Is that God's order?
No, I believe that God would create everyone to be equal.
But He didn't.
Well,
Did the
that's in your scripture.
did the woman come from God or did she come from man?
Well, I don't know because we've just got the Bible could also be the first book of propaganda. I don't know,
But did the
but
Bible say the woman came from God or from man?
I'm not sure.
Yes, you are.
Well, I don't know. It's reliant on. I mean, it's maybe the Bible is as, which I don't believe, by the way, but just to irritate you, I could say that the Bible is just as reliable as Donald Trump's information. I believe that everyone should be treated with fairness and the same. I'm a great advocate of how you want to be treated, you must treat other people. And if we stuck by that, we would be a far better world.
But do you believe the Torah? You ever studied the Torah? Is that the Torah? Have you ever studied the Torah?
The Jewish thing.
Yeah.
No, I think my family would have, but I didn't.
Oh, I see. So listen, one other quick thing about that. I noticed that educated women don't make for good wives and mothers. Should a man, if he want a family, should he ever marry an educated woman?
Well, I can't imagine. I mean, why would a man want to put a woman second? And to me, that's not a man that's worth marrying, actually, in the first place. And a man that would not want to be stimulated intellectually by a woman, to me, is not worth a measure of salt, actually.
But should a man marry an educated woman, since we all agree that educated women don't make for good wives and mothers? Should a man that want a family marry an educated woman?
Well, I believe that educated women make excellent mothers and
No,
wives.
they don't.
So I
They're
disagree with you.
horrible.
Oh, no, I do. I do.
But
I
they
do. And
don't. They
actually,
don't
I
make
think,
for good wives and mothers. Do you believe men and women are equal?
yes, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to disagree with me on before we conclude the interview?
What is a woman?
What a woman is, I don't even understand your question, really. A
Oh,
woman
what is a woman?
perhaps you can tell me.
No, I'm asking you. You're the educated one. What is a woman?
No, but you're in control. This is your house. This is your studio. So rather
But
you
you're the
tell me.
expert. So I'm asking you, what is a woman?
A woman is a creation of God, as is a man,
Could a
as is an
man
animal,
become a
actually.
could a man become a woman?
Well, in today's age, it seems to be so.
Do you believe a man can become a woman?
Are you talking biologically or spiritually or
Period.
what?
Could a man
Well,
become a woman?
well, I don't think naturally, but if people choose to do so, let them do what they want as long as they don't harm anybody else.
I agree with that. They can do what they want. I absolutely agree. And it's nobody else's business. Whatever another person want to do with their lives or life, that's on them. But they can't ever become a man, and a woman cannot become a man, right? But if they want to, because they're kind of off in the head, if they want to think that, you can let them think and be whatever they want. I agree with you on that. So
Well,
listen,
I don't think we can degrade people who want to do that
that's
if it's
right.
done for genuine reasons. I don't think, you speak about not being judgmental, but let people be who they want to be.
I
And
agree. I agree. So I got to
now I'm
put you.
worried. If you agree with me, I'm extremely worried. I prefer disagreeing.
I agree with you on that. We have no right to tell somebody else how to live or let them live in their misery, let them live any kind of way they want to and not judge them. They can do whatever they want with their own lives. So I got to put you on the hot seat. I need you to answer these questions as quickly as possible, all right?
I'm not very good at taking instructions, but let's see how I do.
The hot seat.
What is a man?
I'm too analytical to do this.
What is a man?
I don't know.
What?
I don't know.
Is America the best country on this side of heaven?
Never.
Have you ever seen a ghost?
Yes.
Is it good that the white population in America are declining or is declining?
I think it's neither here nor there.
Um, was it a mistake to release Nelson Mandela from prison?
Never.
Which is worse, abortion or slavery?
I think slavery.
Is the earth flat or round?
I think it's both.
Does a chicken have lips?
Absolutely.
Do you keep a bottle of hot sauce in your purse?
Always.
Is it ever okay to call a woman fat?
Never. Don't you dare.
Have you ever told anyone how the cow ate the cabbage?
No, I'm too educated.
Amazing. Well, thank you for taking on the hot seat. That was nice. Thank you. Tell the folks how to get your books, your writing, your website, whatever you want to give out.
Well, thank you. I'm worried about my hate club increasing, but probably for now you can, but I can deal with white supremacists quite well. You can probably contact me on Twitter at Kim Heller 3. I block people a lot.
Oh, you do? Do you have anger?
Anger?
Anger.
No,
Do you have anger?
no. I have no. I well, I have anger when I see injustice. So when I see what's going on in traumatic places like Palestine, aided by the United States, and DRC and Sudan in particular, my heart weeps and I'm angry.
And do you have anger when you see the blacks killing the whites in South Africa?
I have anger at any death of a person.
How about the blacks killing the whites? Do you have anger when you see that?
We've gone over this. You know, you remind me of the time that I was interrogated by the apartheid police, and they asked the question 100 times, and you know, I refuse to budge on that. I've answered it 100 times.
Really? Well, thank you for coming on. It was good to meet you, and I really wish you well in what you're doing. And thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, you can support The Fallen State by going to TheFallenState.tv. That's it. Oh, TheFallenState.tv/donate or locals.com. And don't forget to follow, subscribe, ring the bell. And if you'd like to see other interesting guests on this show, contact my producer at TheFallenState.tv. And check out my coffee. I have my own coffee now. Punchy's Coffee. Jesse Lee Peterson.shop. Thank you all. Thank you. That was amazing for coming on.
Yes, thank you. A very bizarre show.